And we are live. Very nice. Thank you for wanting to jump on last minute and teach us some stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Always glad to spread some knowledge on cheese making.
Who doesn't love some cheese, especially mozzarella?
Yep.
Say how do you say your not your but you're like what you go by with the Z name?
Yeah, it's Zarathanarchy's ghost at this point, but you can call me Zach. That's fine.
Okay, that's where it comes from. Okay, I was like, I would butcher that. And obviously, your ad is. Do you like do blacksmithing?
Yeah.
Or you just
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, I do a lot of homesteading stuff. Blacksmithing was the first thing, and then I picked up gardening and cheese making and all that kind of stuff.
Kind of like it's like what do they call that? Gateway drug.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. Like some people get chickens, and then all of a sudden they got like goats, ducks, everything, like every animal.
Yeah, that's my one buddy. He started out with just some chickens, and now he's got guinea fowl, and he's getting a goat. He's got ducks. It is a gateway drug.
Does it happen? So what got you into doing like forging stuff?
Well, that was a little while back. I was living with my parents at the time and got super tired of being in the same room with them all the time. So I started watching some YouTube videos, and it came up like there's a guy named Alex Steele. He's a younger guy from England, and he was making cool stuff. So I went through and watched a lot of his stuff and thought that it'd be kind of cool to get into that. And then ran into another channel called Black Bear Forge. And I ended up, he does a lot of like instructional videos on how you do the stuff that's from basic to more advanced. So I ended up finding an anvil in my second cousin's barn, paid him $300 for it, and built a forge and just taught myself from there just to have something to do. And then it turned into being able to make tools and whatnot. So pretty good end of the world sort of skill.
Yeah, because we're gonna need swords and shit or anything like. Well, and I assumed you do welding, like regular welding as well.
I actually just started learning how to do that this year. Okay. Yeah, it's all the metalwork stuff is like I'm trying to get to be in my wheelhouse. That one was harder to get into because I could not afford a welder for a long time.
Right. Yeah, that shit gets expensive. Mm-hmm. All tools and all the things you need for it.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to just dive into
yeah
some cheese making facts?
Absolutely.
And like I said, yeah, I can understand what you're saying, but it is a little choppy, but I can hear you. So.
Well, hopefully people can understand what's going on. I'll start out with just the the basic equipment that you should probably have on hand if you're going to do it. You need a stock pot type thing that's going to be able to hold at least a gallon. You're going to need a instant read thermometer. You're going to need a glass bowl that is probably, I don't know, maybe 12 quarts, probably smaller than that. But it just needs to be able to submerge the cheese after it comes out so that you can cool it down. And a wooden spoon, preferably. You can use metal, but it sticks a little bit more than to wood. So that's all the basic stuff that you need. And then your ingredients, obviously, you're going to need milk. You're going to need rennet, either vegetable or animal. I prefer animal, but vegetable does work too. I've used it a couple of times. And you're going to need salt, and that's pretty much it. So I'll run through just the basic basic recipe that I have here that I do. It's 1 gallon of whole milk. I use raw, but you can use pasteurized, just not ultra pasteurized.
I'm calling the cops on you for using raw milk. That's not allowed.
It's legal in Pennsylvania, surprisingly enough. Yes. I was shocked when I found that out, but
it's because there's a lot of Amish there, probably, right?
Probably, yeah. I'm maybe 10 or 15 minutes away from a pretty big Amish community, so. But yeah, other than that, I forgot to mention you need some citric acid or lemon juice. That's to acidify the milk. You'll need a quarter tablet of rennet, or approximately 1/4 teaspoon of liquid rennet if you're not using a tablet.
Do you want to explain what are you calling it? Run it?
Rennet. It's Rennet.
Is it fat or?
No, that's basically the original version of that came from the lining of a calf's stomach. It's an enzyme that makes the milk curdle.
Okay.
So that they make that out of vegetable now too. If people want to stay vegetarian making this, but I use the animal stuff. It just seems to work faster. But yeah, it's about a quarter teaspoon of that, or a quarter tablet of the vegetable rennet.
Okay.
So you're gonna put your milk into the pan. You're going to add your citric acid in first to acidify the milk. That helps it to coagulate a little bit better. It starts to break down the proteins. So you stir that in, and you bring your milk slowly up to heat to about 90 degrees. Once you hit 90 degrees, you're going to add your rennet into it and stir for 30 seconds until you start to see a little bit of thickening to it. Then stop, let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes. And at that point, you should have curd that is built up on the top. Then what I do, there's different schools of thought on this. You can either cut it into different like little squares and slowly let the whey drain a little bit more out of the curd. Or what I do, you can start stirring it slowly with the heat going up a little bit more to about 105 degrees. That will, in my experience, drain the whey more out of the curds faster. And then you'll start to get all the curds to come together, which is the basic formation of your cheese. So any questions on that so far?
No, I think I understand it.
Yeah, it's a relatively simple process, but I mean, from there, it's what you're going to do is you have like a big lump of curd. You're going to take that out of the remaining whey, set it aside in a bowl, and crank the heat up to about 137 degrees is what I do. I can take that heat on my hands. So you want to go to about whatever you can stand with your hands. And then put your curd back in there until it starts to melt. Pop it back out into the bowl, but then grab it with your hands and start gently stretching it. So when I say stretching it, the first time I ever did this, I was pulling on it, and that caused it to lose too much whey, and too much of the remaining proteins, they sort of bound up, and it almost turned into like a Swiss cheese texture at the end of it, which you don't want with mozzarella. Wow. So you're going to grab it with one hand, take it up to about face height, and just like add a little bit more than gravity pressure to it with your other hand, pulling down, fold it back over, turn it 90 degrees, do the same thing until it gets a little bit too cool to continue. Put it back in to the whey, let it heat up again, do the same thing until it's very shiny looking, like you would imagine a ball of mozzarella that you're going to buy at the store. At that point, you sort of grab the bottom, force it into itself so that it turns into a ball, and then immediately put it into some ice water in that big bowl that you have sitting by, and let it cool completely to the center at that point. And you have your basically your completed cheese at that point. I did skip the fact that you're supposed to salt each time that you pull the cheese. So sprinkle a little bit of salt on it each time you bring it out, so you get a little bit better flavor with the salt mixed all the way throughout instead of just on the outside.
Very nice. So you do have to do a lot of manhandling with it, don't you?
Yeah, it is a lot. I mean, there's an alternate method that you can do if you don't want to deal with really hot water on your hands. You can put the curd that you've pulled out into a microwave safe bowl, zap it for about 30 seconds, and then you can use some spoons to pull it apart that way, and just basically the same process, but without the use of hot water or hot whey. And it turns out pretty well. I just prefer the old school method.
Okay. Very nice. I think we got on the topic of well, I knew you made mozzarella, and there was a meme I had found where the mozzarella was the boobs.
Yep, you sent that to me as soon as you saw that I was making it.
I need to find it. I need to find that and make that the thumbnail for this video.
Yeah, that was a good one. I liked it.
It was silly. That's the best part about memes.
Yeah.
So have you been like making pizza with all this mozzarella? Or what do you do with the most of it?
The biggest reason that I have made pizza with it, and it melts pretty well. You sort of want to let it dry out after you're done making it for a little bit so that it grates a little bit better. Put it in the fridge so it firms up and whatnot. But yeah, I have made some pizzas with it, but the biggest reason that I even make it is both my nieces love mozzarella cheese just by itself. So when I make this, I do a 2-gallon batch, so I get 4 balls of mozzarella out of it. They get 3 of them.
They're just eating you out of house and home with mozzarella, huh?
Yeah, but it's a lot of the stuff I do here on the homestead. It's for my nieces and nephew. Like, I want to be able to give them like fresh food that their parents have no interest in growing things or really making this kind of stuff. So if I can pass it on and just use some of it for myself, I feel like that's all the better. That they're getting fresher, better stuff. So
you're being useful. You're being a useful uncle.
I'm trying. But yeah, the mozzarella, you can do pretty much anything you can do with store-bought mozzarella. I do a really good bruschetta with it. Melt that on top of just some crusts of bread with basil and tomatoes and whatnot. Melt that right over it. That's killer.
I would this sounds so gross, but sometimes I'll just take shredded mozzarella and put it in a pan and just like fry it straight in the pan.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
I bet that's really good with the fresh stuff. Like, I bet it's delicious. Gets all crispy,
Yeah.
I guess that's what all the keto people do now. They eat all that cheese that they crisp up in a pan anyways. So.
Yeah. We used to make those when I worked in a restaurant out of Parmesan. They called them fricos, and those things are really good. But if you ever want to do a cheese that's even easier to make than mozzarella that you can fry and it sort of keeps its shape but melts in the middle, it's called paneer. So it's an Indian style cheese. Okay. And instead of using rennet, which is an ingredient you can't really find unless you get it online, you curdle the milk with acid, either vinegar or lemon juice. And with that one, you follow a lot of the same steps. You get it to the point where the curd's floating on the top. You cut it into little chunks. You don't stir it like you do with mozzarella. And then you pull it out into a cheese press, which you can make out of pretty much a colander and like a 5-pound weight or something like that. Let it sit on top of that curd until it's completely, you let it go for 10 hours or so, and by the time you pull it out, it's firm, like almost like a Colby style cheese, but you can just slap that into a pan and it doesn't completely melt down into it. So it almost fries up like tofu does. So You can flip it over. You got brown cheese on both sides, and you put that in a salad. That's awesome.
Oh, sounds good. I'm getting hungry now.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Lenny, any other little homesteading tips and tricks you want to share while you're on? Anything you said you're learning welding. I don't know if you're learning anything else as well.
I'm trying to learn as much as I possibly can. I just had a guy out here the other day. He's going to be redoing the gutters on my house, and I decided to talk to him about putting gutters on my garage and running it over to a water storage tank. So water catchment's coming up. I'm learning how to do to train vines. I'm growing grapes to make wine. Yeah, I mean, pretty much anything that you can try and make on a homestead, I'm trying to do, including rendering lard, 3D printing firearms, all that kind of stuff.
all the fun stuff. Yeah. It's probably you're a pretty good growing season out there in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, it's been pretty good this year. While everybody else was dealing with drought, we got rain on a weekly basis. It's just now getting super hot, and it's supposed to break by the weekend. So it's been really good. I got something like 40 pounds of zucchini this year, and I got that much in tomatoes just chilling on the vine right now. So really good.
That's really one thing. By the end of the year, then it gets crazy, and you're trying to keep up with it and can everything.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of that right now. So it'll be worth it in the end, but then I got to start all over again with starting seeds in January. This weekend,
go ahead.
I was just going to say this weekend I have to go split probably 4 or 5 cords of wood with my dad to heat the house this winter. trying to avoid those heating costs. So
yeah,
I love the
much you
wood stove.
can. Yeah, that's what we have, wood stoves in all the houses, and it's like, and then we just took down. I mean, these trees won't be ready to burn yet, but yeah, there's always firewood. We fucking split and stacked and moved and chipped. There's always woodwork to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that what talking about how like the season starts again. It like growing food is kind of like you really have to learn quick, because you only have like one shot each year.
Yeah.
To like get it going, but
yeah, and I just started doing that whole seed starting like from seed this past winter, and the biggest issue that I had was my cat.
Of course,
she ripped up like a bunch of little seedlings like as they were taking off. So I had to do this situation over the grow lights where it looked like Dexter was in there about to like kill somebody. And I had to tape it to the table so she couldn't get under it.
She's just like so addicted to it. She's like, I gotta get these sprouts.
Yeah.
She's funny.
I need to do some cat grass for her this winter, I think.
Yeah, I do. I grow that oat grass for my cat too. Mm-hmm. She loves it. She like, I have it in kind of a wide pot, and she'll just like sit in that, like, and then eat it. And it's so cute when they chop. They're like,
yeah,
it's so cute. Well, cool. Thanks for. We can talk about whatever, but I don't know. You said you'd be short explaining how to do it.
Yeah, like I said, it's not a huge like hard thing to do. If anybody has any questions, they can hit me up on Twitter on it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there on how to do it, but if this inspires anybody to do it, I'm happy that it did.
Yeah. Everyone on my Twitter, people, go follow him on Twitter too. All right, cool. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Yay.